Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee. For those of you that are new here, I'm an artist, writer, and life and health coach, and I can't wait to get started on today's video because I basically want to speak about this trend of looksmaxing. I'm sure you guys have seen it go viral on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever your preferred social media is. And I think that this topic relates really well back to body image and self-esteem. So I want to make a informal PSA about how the obsession with your looks can deter you from your life path, from your purpose, and it is not healthy. It's unnatural to be so obsessed with how you look. It's not going to give you the payoff that you think. Not that you should neglect your appearance, of course not, but this obsession is not it, okay? So leave a like on this video if you enjoy this topic. Leave your thoughts. Maybe you don't agree with everything I say. That's perfectly fine. I'm just here to be a voice and start the conversation. So I have my notes here on my phone. How cute is this phone case? Get your phone cases from Temu. Thank me later. They're literally like so cheap and they last for such a long time. I'm obsessed. But take it from me, okay? I used to think that the more I improved my appearance, the better my life would get. But the women who actually have power, who actually have motion, it's a better term, they're not obsessed with how they look. They use their appearance, they don't depend on it. So this obsession with your looks, it causes a lot more harm than you would think. And yes, it is that deep. I don't want to hear anybody say it's not that deep. Yes, it is that deep. And one of the things that, if I could speak to my younger self, who was basically obsessed with how I looked, was, I did modeling for a short time. I spent a lot of time on camera. I, you know, I was in fitness. I am still in fitness. And there is this fixation on how you look. If you just use social media and you post or you consume content on social media, that can also give you this fixation on how you look. And there are levels, and I'm going to talk about, what ends up happening when you really, really hyper focus on how you look. And I want to also just be adamant that you are so much more than how you look. You are so much more than what you weigh. You are so much more than your body. You are so much more than your appearance, okay? And I feel like this trend is setting us backwards. Not that it's not important, but it's just like the fact that this is the thing that's going viral, that it's like this revolutionary concept is triggering. So if you only focus on how you look, whether it be your body, we all have our things, whether it be your body, your image, your aesthetic, my Instagram people, you're not elevating your life, you're actually limiting it. And I've lived both sides of this, so I'm not just speaking from theory. The first way this shows up, I'm going to give you guys 3 ways that this shows up and how it can impact your life. The first way this shows up is through social media, of course. A lot of people care more about how they look, how their life appears, how their grid looks. I mean, I feel like we're slowly coming out of that. I do feel that, Instagram is kind of losing the hold that it had on us in previous years, especially my generation. But there was a time when your grid was like everything. Um, and when you care more about that than what's actually happening in your real life, that's a problem. Social media is supposed to reflect your life, it's not supposed to become it. And a lot of us have to tread very carefully when social media is a part of our job, right? It's a different dependency that we come to have with social media, but we are all affected by it. When you prioritize your image like that, what ends up happening as a consequence is that you start living for validation. You start, of course, caring what people think, what people like, what gets attention. You start letting their projections basically control you, control your life, and run your life. Yes, it is that deep. Because what happens is you slowly lose control of your own identity and your own perception of your identity. You become easy to influence, easy to control, because your self-worth is now in other people's hands. Your self-worth should not lie in how you look. in your image. That's the deeper part that I want to get to. It should not lie in your image. Your image is the shell, okay? How important is the shell? It's not something to be neglected. It is not the most important thing, though. I'm going to use the example of when I am still an artist, but when I was heavily creating content on social media to promote, my music and things like that, something I would notice is like everybody's creative process is different, and I love that. But I definitely got the sense from a lot of people that their appearance, how they look, their image was their priority in their artistry, which was very foreign to me because for me, the best part of being a creative, the best part of making any work, whether it's your music, whether it's something you're writing, whether it's your images, like your photography, your paintings, I feel like the best part of that is when you're in private making that thing. Like that is like cathartic. It's a beautiful like in between moment, from like reality and like a dream-like state. Like that part is the best part for me, like the creative process and making the thing. When I was writing music, my favorite part was like in private writing my songs because it came from a real place. And I was like, I could sense the difference between how artists create when they're doing it from a place of really loving it and really respecting their craft and wanting to like develop their craft, like being focused on the craft versus being focused on their image and on how they appear. And it's just a very shallow experience. It's not the same. And I fell into that at times and I could feel the difference. It was palatable. I even saw this when I was creating. Some people cared more about their outfits and their aesthetics than the actual craft. You get pushed into being like an influencer, like you just lose the whole point and purpose behind what you're doing. But the most fulfilling part was always creating in private, not the validation. You can look amazing and still be completely disconnected from yourself or disconnected from your craft. So that was one example. But moving on, how this obsession with your body, this obsession with your appearance can negatively impact your life, okay? Again, not to say that it's not important, but it should not be what's running you. And a lot of young women fall into this trap of putting all of their self-worth in how they look. And what I'll say is sometimes you have to let it play out. Maybe for a time you let that be the most important thing to you. It definitely was for me, and this is how I ended up learning that it's not everything. It's not worth the obsession. It's not worth the constant mental capacity that it takes to be hyper focused on your appearance in this way. Like in my example for fitness, there were times, and it was a long period of time, it was years, that I spent in a basically restriction cycle through over exercising, under eating. And what ends up happening when you are restricted for a long time is your brain just naturally starts to like obsess and fixate on, for example, how many calories is this? What can I eat today? Can I even go out for dinner later because I already had my calories? Like you just start to become very obsessed and you start to see things in the mirror that aren't even there, hence body dysmorphia. The second way that obsession with your body drains your life is that it limits your mental space. When you make your body your priority, it takes over your mind. Again, I'm talking about the other side of the spectrum when it becomes an obsession. I went through a phase where I was constantly tracking everything, what I ate, how I looked, how I felt in my body, over exercising, under eating, thinking about it all day. And it's exhausting, okay? It had to be pointed out to me by a professional that that was not normal. I thought that was normal. I was living my life in this mental space that was draining, but I thought it was how everyone was. Like, I didn't realize that I was doing things that were unhealthy. I didn't even realize that I was in a cycle. And when that was like revealed to me, I was like, whoa, like this is like, a sickness. Like it's not healthy. Obsession is not natural. That kind of thinking gets exhausting. And what starts as discipline can sometimes turn into obsession. And obsession is not natural. okay? The whole point of taking care of yourself is to feel good and to not feel controlled by it. The minute that scale tips into control, into obsession, you have to take a step back. Looking good should be a side effect of your life, of your wellness, okay? Your beauty should be a side effect of how good you feel, how your spirit is doing, okay? Not the center of your life. That's where we cross into idolizing your appearance, okay? And being obsessed with how you look. We don't want that. Okay, closing this video, you give your power away when you think this way, when you are overly obsessed with your appearance, okay? You give it away to several things, but you give it away to validation, to men, you give your identity away. The third way this limits you is you start putting your value in other people's hands. When your confidence comes from how you look, you start needing other people to confirm that. Especially in dating, you start tying your worth to attention, to validation, to how desired you feel. And the problem is that that's unstable, because the moment you feel like you don't look as good, and that can be such an abstract thing, like the smallest thing can be off, and that could ruin your whole day. How many women out there get on the scale, they're 1 pound over what their ideal weight is, and it throws them off for the entire day? You don't want to live like that, okay? It's no way to live. You lose that sense of control over your self-perception. Your entire mood, your confidence, your identity becomes dependent on something that constantly changes. It should not be the center of your life, okay? I remember hearing this question or this quote, probably from an interview, and it's very powerful, and I want to leave you guys with this. I remember hearing this question about when you look back at your life, right? Like in your older age, you start reminiscing, you start looking at how your life played out. Are people going to remember how skinny you were? The people you love, your closest friends, are they going to remember how skinny you were, or are they going to remember the way that you lived, the laughter, the shared moments, the fun that you had? Like, do you think that they're thinking that hard about that? You deserve to not live under that kind of constriction as well, okay? They care more about the memories, and you should as well. The energy, the presence, your soul. That's what actually stays. That's what you should be prioritizing, okay? And I promise, as a side effect, you will look beautiful, okay? Because you're well. You're well. Wellness is beauty, okay? You need to reframe and win by playing a different game, okay? You don't win by having the perfect body. Perfection is an illusion, okay? We'll talk about that later. You win by not making your body your entire identity. You can enjoy your appearance, of course. You can take care of yourself. A lot of us are into self-care and beauty because it's fun, because it's a hobby. That's okay. You can look good. But when you depend on it, that's when it becomes a trap, okay? Your body is a part of your life. It is not the most important thing about you, okay? If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like, leave me a comment. Subscribe to my blog. I upload frequently on topics like this, more in depth. You can learn more about my work on my blog as well. All of my relevant links to my 90-day coaching program are below, as well as any future coaching offers you can find on my website. My name is Renee. This is a wellness and health channel, and I hope that you subscribe and stay to watch more. Bye.